This is Football Night in America, served by Applebee's.
Always enjoy this. We put Sunday in perspective. Hi, everyone. Mike Tirico, Tony Dungy, Mike Florio, Rodney Harrison, looking back at Sunday number 3 of the NFL season. Look, I don't think the Giants are going to do a heck of a lot here this year, but the Daniel Jones thing gave him some energy, some passion. Rodney, I'm going to start with you. What was your reaction to the new Giants quarterback?
I thought Daniel Jones actually earned the job in training camp. I felt like it was unfair for them to start Eli, but I understood. I thought he was terrific. I mean, to come in under those circumstances, he's always been a humble kid. He's always stayed focused, never really had any distractions during the preseason. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching because once he got in the game, everybody else kind of upped their game, and you could tell he gave them hope. And a lot of times in the league, when you have a young quarterback, that's just what you're looking for, some hope, Mike.
Yeah, and when you make the guy the Week 3 starter, you're admitting he should have been the Week 1 starter, but none of it affected him. None of it mattered to him. And to be down big, this is what they're looking for. Dave Gettleman said he wants a guy who has that mental ability to shut everything out and go about his business. And he proved it with the huge comeback in his first start, Tony.
No, he did. And we saw in the first half of the game all the problems with the Giants' defense. Bucs receivers wide open, bad pass protection, all of those things. But it was a different offense. They had zone reads in. They had naked bootlegs. They had all these plays designed for Daniel Jones to move. And then when he had to scramble around and make things happen, he did. And Rodney's right. They felt like they could come back when they were 15 down, 2 scores down.
And think about it from an offensive coordinator standpoint. When you have a quarterback that has limited mobility, it really
and
shrinks.
A line that can't protect.
Exactly. It really shrinks what you can do, your ability to do different things. But you could tell, and you talked about it, Coach, in our pregame show, the movement. It bought time from the offensive line.
They couldn't just tee off on him and know that he's going to be right in the pocket. They had to defend the whole field.
That Minnesota team that Pat Shurmur coordinated the offense of 2 years ago with Case Keenum, that mobility of the quarterback allows you to do that sort of stuff.
You know, Eli has handled everything in a first-class way, which is usually the way he goes about his business. I did appreciate seeing the shots at the end of the game before Daniel Jones went out for that drive where they scored the touchdown to go ahead. Eli was going through reminders, and you're lip reading on the sideline. Throw it away if you need to. Those kind of things. You know, we hear about it all the time.
Classy guy.
It's a business, and you don't want to mentor the guy who's kicking your butt out of the door, especially when Eli's been there for 16 years. But some guys do it the right way for the game.
And for the team.
I remember they drafted Brandon Merriweather in the first round when I was there with the Patriots, and I tried to work with this young man every single day, watching tape, showing him, trying to show him and lead him about how to be a pro. And to me, you know, I love mentoring those young guys. See, I know it's a business, but at the same time, if I know I can help those young men, that's what I want to try to do.
Now, this could have been, it should have been a loss if Tampa kicks the short field goal, and the kicker was 4 for 4. Gabe, before the miss, and Bruce Arians said that he took a delay game penalty because the kicker's better from farther back. I hope that Bruce was just trying to provide cover for the kid.
Yeah, well, and the answer to his question is no, he's not. So next time, hopefully he won't take the delay again.
Right.
Wow.
All right, that's topic 1. Topic 2, who's got 2?
I have 2. And I told my Colts fans not to worry about their quarterback position. Jacoby Brissett was going to be fine for them. Do you guys agree with me?
I do. I definitely agree with you, Coach. Marlon Mack, he's been terrific. He's got a plethora of weapons. And you know, Jacoby has something that I just like, the maturity and the composure. A lot of times you look at these young quarterbacks, they get rattled. No matter how many times he gets hit, no matter how many times he falls on the ground, he never gets rattled.
It helps that the rest of the team has gotten to a level that it really hasn't been at since you were the coach. And it's hard not to think how good the Colts would be if Andrew Luck was playing. I mean, they'd be Super Bowl contention this year, and maybe they will be with Jacoby Brissett.
They might have been better with Andrew, but the thing I like now, I think the mentality is we can't have the quarterback do it all. We're not going to throw the ball every down, so we're going to stay with the running game more and give those guys a chance, and that's why Mack has blossomed behind that offensive line.
And think about this. They don't even have 2 of their best players, Darius Leonard and Jamal Sheard. Once those guys get back on defense, it's really going to elevate them.
And do remember, with Drew Brees there, they were this close to beating New Orleans in New Orleans in the opener of the Week 1 Monday night doubleheader. So they're not too far from 3-0. And an AFC South that it always seems like the last few years we're asking, well, who's going to be consistent? Who can we count on week in, week out to give us something? Houston almost at 3-0. Indianapolis 2-1. You got a couple of teams now in this division that I feel are going to be good teams, maybe separate themselves as we go through the year.
That Colts offensive line, you can be in every game when you can run the ball and pound the ball, and their defense can get takeaways.
You know what I like most about the Colts? This is probably the best head coach they've ever had. It is. It's just the best head coach they've ever had.
He's been well trained. That's
on to number 3.
How could you do that and say that about Ted Marchibroda? I mean, come on, man. You're so unfair. So
Ron
brutal.
Meyer,
Kimura,
Lindy Infante.
Yeah.
Mike, we're still on. You got a TV program.
I understand, but I just like the way this division's going. That's why I brought up the Houston deal, because I think both of these teams now are showing us something that Jacksonville, Tennessee mess around every once in a while. You don't know which team you're going to get week in, week out. The Jalen Ramsey talk that you've been dealing with all week, Mike, of wanting to be traded, et cetera. We don't know what Mariota will be from a consistency standpoint. We saw it with Indy today. We saw it with Houston. That's why I bring them up. I think these two teams are going to separate themselves in the AFC South.
Yep, I agree. And third up on the docket, are the Ravens on the same level as the New England Patriots and the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC?
No.
Coach Rodney.
Go ahead.
No, I agree with you. I don't think so. I think they've got a lot of elements. I think they're still young. They're finding their way. The defense isn't as dominant as they've been. And, you know, I still want to see this offense continue to get better and better.
I know Lamar Jackson did some great things the first couple of weeks, but I'm not buying that this is going to be this offense that they're going to be putting up, 400-plus yards and scoring 30 points. I like the Ravens, but they proved to me that they're not ready for prime time.
But they went into a tough spot today. Home opener for the Kansas City Chiefs. The weather wasn't great, and they hung in there. They came back when they were down. They did some stupid things, going for 2 in spots where maybe they shouldn't have. And Lamar Jackson got away with some throws that may have been intercepted any other time.
Well, guess what? If you got to come back and beat them in the playoffs, guess where you're coming? You're coming right back to Kansas City. So you got to deal with the weather, the elements, and the pressure.
Even John Harbaugh, you mentioned that, going for 2, going for it on 4th down.
3 times.
I think he's almost saying, we've got to do these unusual things to win. We can't just play ball and count on our defense. I know going into Kansas City, they're going to score a lot of points, but sometimes you got to just say, hey, we've got to just play fundamental football.
What did you tell your team when you go into a hostile environment? Don't turn the ball over, right?
Yeah, we've got to be fundamentally sound and execute.
I want to come back to that 2-point conversion thing with John Harbaugh, because he said after the game, hey, guys, criticize me all you want. We're going to do this. We're going to be aggressive, and this is an all-year thing. It's not just today in Kansas City. We're going to be aggressive and go after points. It is that seed change, that mentality change. We saw it last year. We're seeing it now.
That's great to be aggressive, Mike, but there's times in the game when you're up, 7 points, you don't need to go up 9 points. You just need to go up 8 points. There's times when you have to say, this is the prudent thing to do, to punt the football, or this is the prudent thing to do to kick the extra point.
I want to spin this question back to you, Mike, for a second, and reframe it this way. If Kansas City and New England are clearly the 2 best in the AFC, who's the 3rd best team in the AFC?
I think it is the Ravens. I do. Yeah, I think it is. If somebody was going to lose in Kansas City today. Whoever showed up there was probably going to lose. But the thing with the Ravens that concerns me the most, and I think we're all on the same page about this, Lamar Jackson takes too many hits. And whether he's running it, whether he's throwing it, and it's just a matter of basic math. You take the hits, eventually you're not going to be able to keep going. And the question is, how long are you going to be out? What can RG3 do if he has to come in? And we've seen the quarterback injuries already this year, and it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time before he gets hurt.
You guys mentioned Kansas City before. We talked about Indianapolis a moment ago. Indy at Kansas City 2 weeks away on Sunday Night Football, with the Colts playing better. And as Tony said, don't worry about it. Colts fans with Jacoby Brissett. Let's see how they do going in there against Mahomes and company.
You've been in this business a long time. That was a great kind of little plug that you put on.
You're welcome.
Anytime, you do everything.
Anytime you can acknowledge my abilities, Rodney, I feel better. I sleep better that night.
Coach, this is coming to you first. Okay. The Lions, do you believe in them?
I like the way the Lions are playing, but I still think they're a tier down from those upper echelon teams in the NFC. They're winning with different ways. I still go back to that Arizona game, though. That's a game they should have won. They didn't win. I just have visions of that in my head.
I talked to Matt Patricia, the coach of the Lions, after the game today, and I said, if I told you 15 days ago you'd be 2-0-1, would you take it? And he said, absolutely. But they still view that Week 1 game as a loss, and that's how his guys processed it. They should have won that game. They should be 3-0, but they put it behind them, and they took care of a good Chargers team. And then they went to Philadelphia and took down the Eagles, and they know what's waiting for them next week with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I have a feeling they'll at least be competitive. They may not win, but they'll at least be competitive.
They are winning games that they have for generations not years, generations, and different regimes lost. And last year, it was trying to find some confidence for Matt Patricia to build in that locker room and with that team and that organization. And they're getting a little bit of that back because they made the plays against the Chargers and won. And they do it against the Eagles, albeit a beat-up Eagles team. When you looked at their schedule and saw Chargers, Eagles, Chiefs, you're going, they could easily go 0-3 through that stretch, and they're guaranteed at least 2-1 through that stretch. So their season will be seen a little bit differently now going forward.
And let me just make this point, guys, because you brought up schedule. And you look at the next 3 weeks, they play Kansas City, then they have a bye. Then they play Green Bay with an improved defense, and they play Minnesota, a more of a balanced team. They could easily be 2-3-1. So I don't believe in this team. They're playing better. Matthew Stafford looks more comfortable. They got some weapons, some young guys making some plays. But all in all, you look up, 3 weeks from now, a month from now, they're going to be 2-3-1, Mike.
One thing that works to their favor, though, Patricia said he's bringing in guys that he thinks are the right guys. Guys like you, bringing in a guy who's going to be good for the team, do all the right things. Not just former Patriots, but guys like Jesse James, the former Steelers tight end. Yep. That's a name that he mentioned. The right guys to do the right things, who are committed to winning, committed to the process, and that's what they need.
How often have you heard culture? The culture was drastically improved by your friend Jim Caldwell in the last regime of building it, and they've changed. It's a little bit different group.
By the way, Mike.
It's a little bit different group now, and Matt has had to rebuild in his own way. But after the sticky point last year, he's won some guys over. You can see it in their reactions with Matt and how they're interacting with him on the sideline. Interesting to watch next few weeks.
You win some of these games, and it does build your confidence. But if I'm coaching, I'm looking at it and saying, we had a big lead at Arizona. We lost the game. The Chargers, Phillip Rivers throws a dumb interception in the red zone, or that game is going to be tied up and go into overtime. Philadelphia's receiver drops the game-winning touchdown pass. He's behind my defense.
Blew a 10-point lead, had a field goal block.
So you're saying you don't believe in him?
I'm still seeing some of the same. I do not yet.
I'm with you, Coach.
Okay, speed round time.
Okay.
Speed round, right? Eagles are 1-2, team the Lions beat. Are you worried about them, Tony?
I'm worried about them because I don't like their defense right now. Their corners can be attacked, and they've got to get Jeffrey and Deshaun back and get that explosiveness back in the offense.
Yeah, I'm not panicked because of the injuries they've had. Now, you have to overcome the injuries. Everybody has them at some point. But I think when they get their top receivers back, it'll be a different story.
I agree.
I'm a little worried because of the math, because they play Green Bay on Thursday night. You've got Dallas and Green Bay and Detroit and San Francisco and the Rams, depending on the Sunday night result, all teams that are going into an undefeated week 4, whereas now if you're 3 games back, 4 weeks in, that's a big mountain compared to the AFC where there are 5 teams that haven't won yet. So even if you're off to not a great start, you can survive that. Mr. Florio, you get this one next. How good is the Packers' defense?
I mean, it's good enough, right? That's all they can ask for. It's good enough while the offense finds its footing, and the offense is going to continue to get better and better. We saw that today. The offense looked better than it had all year, and the defense just needs to complement that offense. And, maybe as time goes by, the defense will soften a little bit, but the offense is going to get better. It's team football. It's both sides of the ball, and the Packers have managed to win every game.
I agree, but I kind of disagree because I do believe that Packers defense for real. Those 2 boys coming off, those men coming off the edge with the help in the secondary allows those guys to be a lot more aggressive. They're putting pressure. They're stopping the run. These guys, the one thing you mentioned out in Chicago when we were there for the kickoff game was the size of those dudes. They are huge. Guys. This is the biggest defense they've had in years, Mike.
They're fast. They have speed. They're playing sound football. They're not doing it with gimmicks or gadgets or just different. They're lining up and playing and beating people.
This is a top 10 defense.
I agree with that.
Zadarius Smith, a huge addition. They had not traditionally gone to free agency to supplement what was going on in Green Bay. The reality is that they had to now, and they do look a little bit different. Last one, I'll go to you first on this, Rodney. The reaction to Teddy Bridgewater's return as a starter and getting a win, first time since the end of the 2015 season, and spin it ahead for our Sunday night game, New Orleans-Dallas in New Orleans next week.
Well, yeah, I was really thrilled for Teddy Bridgewater. We were down there for the Thanksgiving game last year and got a chance to meet with him and talk with him, and he just told me that he was really happy for the opportunity. I'm glad he got his opportunity. I thought Sean Payton did a great job of game planning, a lot of check downs, a lot of easy, manageable type things. Against the Dallas Cowboys, he's going to have to be a lot more aggressive. He's going to have to throw the ball down the field because the Cowboys put up a lot of points.
And, Teddy Bridgewater was always a solid player in Minnesota, and it's been so long since he had a chance to play. But with Sean Payton, who can take every idea that crosses his field of vision and turn it into an opportunity for his quarterbacks to make plays. I mean, that's the key, and they really want the Cowboys. They remember that game from last year, that Thursday night game when they had to go to Dallas, and they've been waiting for their chance to get the Cowboys again.
Well, first of all, I'm just ecstatic for Teddy. I went up to Minnesota. We had them on a Sunday night right after Teddy got hurt. The whole team, Mike Zimmer was almost crying when he was talking to me. It was such a horrific injury. For him to come back and start a game and win after that, and he's a great young man,
he's a good
too.
kid, man.
And I agree with Rodney. Playing for Sean Payton, he's going to take the best of what you do and build it into the offense. He's going to get guys open, and they didn't have to do too much against Seattle. Sean will have some more things dialed up for Dallas.
What's impressive, too, Teddy Bridgewater, when we've seen him play before today, had been kind of underwhelming. Like, we kind of thought maybe the ship had sailed, but today was a great rewind to 2015.
And it's interesting to see a quarterback who had some success, as he did with Minnesota, but then because of the injury had to take a step back, is in one of the great incubators for thoughts on offense in New Orleans. And it's not just Drew Brees and Sean Payton. It's Pete Carmichael. It's everybody in that building. They really think about offense, study everybody, take the best of everything else, mix it in their own stuff with all those plays that look alike, but they're different over and over. And for Teddy to have the knowledge of his ability, the perspective of his injury, and now the context of the added brain power of that offense, maybe we're going to see a quarterback who could be a star in this league.
He's going to get better. You have to remember, when you're the second-team quarterback, you don't get a lot of reps with those starting receivers. You're doing things with the second group. You're running the scout team. Yes, you're running the offense, but this is 3-4 weeks with Michael Thomas and Kamara and those guys. He's going to be a lot more comfortable.
And that's why he stayed. Miami wanted him.
Yeah.
And he stayed to stay with Sean Payton and to know that at some point next year, the year after, Drew Brees isn't going to be there and that job's going to be open.
You mentioned him being a star. He doesn't have to be a star. He just has to be good. You know what I'm saying,
Right,
Mike?
right.
He doesn't have to be a superstar. Just be good, not turn the ball over.
That's the last word, and that's the word on Week 3, Sunday 3 in the NFL. We'll see you for Football Night in America on NBC, Sunday at 7 Eastern, and Florio all week on Pro Football Talk. Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.